let's talk about converting measurements, and we're going to start with just looking at metric measurements, because we know in science we use a lot of metric measurements, and the great thing about metric measurements is they are base 10, so they are super easy to convert. So let's take a look really quick at our metric system. So hopefully this looks familiar to you, and these 6 prefixes are probably the ones you've seen the most often. You may know a mnemonic device to help remember them. I like kangaroos have dandruff, but you don't care much. You may have heard King Henry died while drinking chocolate milk or something like that. But the key here is that the numbers or the prefixes down at the bottom here, these are bigger, and the ones at the top here are smaller. So as we go down, prefixes get bigger. To go up in this list at least, the prefixes get smaller. And notice we have some extras added on here. So we've got nano and micro. Those are really, really tiny, and we do sometimes use those in chemistry, especially when we're talking about the atom, which is really, really tiny. And mega and giga. We won't really use those so much in chemistry because, again, we're talking about stuff that is really, really tiny. But just know, you might see those sometimes. But we're going to focus in on our basic 6, millicenta, deca, hecto, kilo. And the ones we are really going to see a lot is milli, centa, and kilo. So if we continue to narrow down, if we know milli, centa, and kilo, we're doing okay. And remember that those prefixes can be stuck onto any metric base unit, so centimeters, centiliters, centigrams. It works with all of them, just depends what property are we measuring. So let's take a look at how we use this chart and these numbers. So here I've set up the question, convert 465 milliliters to liters. So I'm always going to take what I'm given. So I am given 465 milliliters. So I'll take what I'm given. I am going to multiply that by a unit ratio. So I want to go from milliliters to liters. So no, I'm trying to get to liters. Now, when I'm using this is called dimensional analysis, I need to put what I start with, that's milliliters, the unit I start with, on the bottom, and what I'm trying to get, which is liters, on the top. So on the bottom here, that's the unit I start with, and on the top here, that's the unit I want to end with. Now I need to figure out what numbers go in there. So it is really important to actually do your units first, because that way you're going to know which way to flip the unit ratio, because your unit ratio is a fraction that can be flipped either way. So you really need to put those units in, otherwise it's just a 50-50 shot that you get it right. So I'm going to come over to my metric unit chart here, and I want to go from milliliters to liters. So milli is 1/1000th of the base unit. Liter is a base unit. So when we talk about base units here, again, I mentioned this earlier, that's like liters, grams, meters, anything without a prefix. So liters is a base unit. A milliliter is 1/1000th of a base unit. So that means for every 1 base unit, every 1 liter, there are 1,000 milliliters. So let's see what that looks like in our fraction here. For every 1 liter, there are 1,000 milliliters, because a milliliter is tiny. So there's a lot of milliliters in a liter. So now if I do this math, if I do 465 times 1 over 1,000 milliliters, that's essentially division, right? If I do 465, even if you put in your calculator, just stick that in parentheses there, I'm multiplying it by 1 over 1,000, which is the same thing as dividing by 1,000, which would give me 0.465 liters. Let's try another one. So this next one says convert 0.54 meters, remember we always start with what we're given, to centimeters. So 0.54 meters to centimeters. I start with meters, so that needs to go on the bottom because I need my units to cancel. And then I want to go to centimeters. So now I'm going to go over and I'm going to look at my chart, and I see a centimeter is 1/100th of a base unit. Meter is a base unit. A centimeter is 1/100th of that, which means for every 1 meter, there are 100 centimeters. So these multiply bys, they are reference to the base unit. So a milliliter is 1/1000th of a liter. A centimeter is 1/100th of a meter. A kilometer is 1,000 times a meter. So these are always reference to the base unit. So now you'll see my number is going to get bigger because the big number here is on top. So the 100/1, big number is on top. My number is going to get bigger. So I multiply that, and I get this 54 centimeters in 0.54 meters. And always do yourself a little check. Okay, that's half a meter. So that makes sense that there'd be a lot of centimeters in half a meter. All right, that number checks out. So that's how you do a basic metric conversion between a prefix unit and a base unit.